A week from this Thursday, the impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden begins. It's about time, and it's a beautiful, well-deserved thing, Joe Biden. Yeah. All right. Some say, especially rhinos, there's no smoking gun here whatsoever. There's no evidence tying this to Joe Biden. I actually disagree. There is evidence. I'll get to that in a little bit. But you don't necessarily need a smoking gun to start the inquiry. You know, when they started looking into Richard Nixon in the summer of 1973, well, they went at it for a very long time. They had the hearings and the impeachment stuff started in the fall, and Richard Nixon did not resign until a year later, over a year later. And that was just a few days after the smoking gun was actually uncovered. You know, an impeachment inquiry, well, you inquire. You don't have to have all the evidence. You're not supposed to at the beginning of an investigation, at the end of an investigation. This is high time, all right? And for those who say, especially in the fake news, no evidence, the House Oversight Committee has done a hell of a lot of work, and let's go through it, please. China, $3 million to the Biden family. Various companies they control, $3 million to them. Next, from Ukraine, $17 million to various LLCs that they had a hand in. Romania, small change in comparison. It goes on and on and on. And why are Biden grandkids, girlfriends, all kinds of characters getting this money? It's actually a red flag that everybody in the Biden family seems to be getting money other than Joe Biden. Like they had it worked out that way, that they anticipated somebody snooping around and asking these questions. The famous dinners at Cafe Milana with people from Kazakhstan, Russia, all these folks that Hunter wanted to do business with, and a drop by the then sitting vice president. What was that all about? Why did Hunter, the very next day, get $143,000? What was it for? For a sports car, a sports car. We actually have this from Devin Archer. Devin Archer established that, yes, a Kazakh oligarch wired the money specifically so Hunter could get a sports car, a Porsche, no less. Thank you, Devin Archer. The famous text message, right? The WhatsApp message. You can't just dismiss this stuff. It's implicating Joe right there. The damning WhatsApp message to a senior Chinese official with Communist Party and intelligence ties. Long story short, pay up. We want our money. And why should you send it to me? Well, because the man I'm sitting next to is my father, Joe Biden. We want our money. Are they going to try to tell us that this is Russia disinformation? Haven't heard that phrase in a while. Could this be why Joe Biden let the China balloon just fly over America and didn't do a damn thing about it until it was over the water, when it couldn't take a picture of anything? This needs to be looked into at the very least. We need the inquiry to find out why they were hiding Hunter on these trips. Joe was going to various countries as vice president, and Hunter was there too, but they kept him hidden, waiting in the car, in the back of the plane, in Germany and many other countries. See, a big parade for Joe and Jill, flowers, and look who's kind of lurking, getting in the car when he thinks nobody's looking. Yeah, we know what this guy looks like. There is so much that needs to be looked into, and just circumstantially, why would Joe Biden, with just a few days left in office as vice president of the United States, go to Ukraine and Switzerland? He did. Look at the calendar. He only had, I think, 3 days left in office, and he goes to meet with President Xi over in Switzerland. Now, was he doing that for America's benefit or somebody else's? Somebody else like Hunter, who is going to pressure them for millions of dollars in just a couple of months. How about Ukraine? He also goes to Ukraine to meet with the president over there that he likes so much. Why? Why does he like him so much? 4 days before he leaves office as vice president. And look at how he lays on the charm.
Mr. President, I may have to call you once every couple of weeks just to hear your voice. It's been going on a long time.
Why would he call the president of Ukraine when he's an ex-vice president of the United States to take care of our business or his? The answer is clear. This must be further looked into, don't you think? The fake news, though, they want to just say that we're the crazy ones.
What do you think of the upcoming impeachment proceedings against Biden over allegations about his son. And as asinine as it might be to impeach a president over something that his son did, it's happening, and the story isn't pretty.
Did she say asinine? It's asinine to ask these questions. They forget about somebody. I'll get to him. Remember Mr. Tony Balinsky? All these questions, though, they threaten to not undo the Biden presidency, but simply distract him. Listen to more fake news.
Now, politically speaking, what people close to the president say is they're not worried that voters are going to look at this and say, oh, Hunter Biden was indicted. I'm not going to vote for President Biden. What they are worried about is the emotional toll that this takes on the president and how that plays out politically, meaning he's distracted. It's weighing on him heavily. And that creates a scenario in which the president is more prone to missteps and mistakes, the type that he cannot afford to make.
Joe has been making missteps and mistakes since the day he was, since college. Sorry, but the gaffes and the horrible public statements, and you're trying to say this is all happening because of the indictment. Talk about spin, right? And yeah, we got to hear from Mr. Tony Balinsky, because the idea that this is all Hunter and has nothing to do with Joe, according to this man, and I believe him, is a lie.
I was introduced to Joe Biden by Jim Biden and Hunter Biden. At my approximately hour-long meeting with Joe that night, we discussed the Biden's history, the Biden's family business plans with the Chinese, with which he was plainly familiar, at least at a high level. On numerous occasions, it was made clear to me that Joe Biden's involvement was not to be mentioned in writing, but only face-to-face.
This is the reason why you never hear the name Tony Balinsky, right? There's not been a big profile in the New York Times. This is damning stuff. Arguably, smoking gun. And just like this, Joe Biden gets accused of stuff. Donald Trump gets accused of stuff. I think the reaction from both men when they're accused and under pressure is very revealing. Observe.
We did nothing wrong. This is a whole hoax. This is just like the Russia deal. This is like the fake dossier.
But here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question.
Why did you take those documents with you when you left the White House?
I had every right to under the Presidential Records Act. You have the Presidential Records Act. I was there and I took what I took, and it gets declassified.
That's not true. You're saying things you do not know what you're talking about. No one said that. Who said that?
Well, it's just everything I did was right. We have the Presidential Records Act, which I abided by 100%. I have the right to declassify as president.
Were you involved?
No, I wasn't. I don't.
Were you?
No.
Notice anything? You see a pattern? You see a trend? This is going to be good and necessary. All right, what's next?
They had a product that was destroying the planet, that was exacerbating conditions. The hot's now much hotter than they've ever been. Dry's drier, wet's wetter. They're culpable for their responsibility in terms of perpetuating these lies, for misleading the American people, meaning lying to consumers, lying to all of us, including policymakers, and as a consequence, delaying the progress.
Gavin Newsom talking about big oil. Yeah, he's going to sue. It's a guaranteed way to get a lot of publicity. I don't trust Gavin Newsom. Quite frankly, I trust big oil. These guys have been delivering a service. My car has been operating. What has Gavin done? Really, this is a career politician messing with he's been hanging around San Francisco, DJing events, trying to curry favor with political figures since he was 22 years old. And you know who we won over? A guy named Willie Brown. Willie Brown is quite the character. He was the head of the California State Assembly, and Gavin Newsom hung around him and helped him become mayor, and he did a big favor for Gavin Newsom and sent Gavin Newsom on his way, gave him a seat on that board of supervisors or whatever they call it out there. You know who else Willie was a mentor to? Kamala Harris. More than a mentor, right? Very, very close. It's kind of fascinating, though, that Willie Brown gave rise to not only Kamala, but Gavin Newsom. And these people, are within striking distance of the presidency. Watch out for this guy, though. Smooth, but nothing up here.
Support the workers, and I support a construct that has to be resolved. I think it was Plutarch who said the imbalance between the rich and the poor is the oldest and most fatal ailment of all republics. We have to address that fundamental gap.
Yeah, he's quoting Plutarch. This is a pseudo-intellectual move. You want to gosh, a career politician wants to rearrange our society. It should not work this way. These people know nothing of what they're doing. They just love the attention. They love the perks. They love the power. Kind of like that guy we were talking about a little while ago, Joe Biden. That's why he got into it. I know it. He has said it throughout his career. It's not about the people. It's about him. It really is, and his ability to connect. The UN was a big dud speech, so, I had a flashback. Who remembers this at the United Nations a couple of years ago?
I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones.
They should have booed her and sent her back to wherever she came from. Instead, she was embraced by global media elites.
Greta Thunberg is just an amazing person. She has inspired millions of people around the world, adults and children.
She's a very straightforward young lady. She speaks her mind, and she's much more compelling than you would ever think a 16-year-old could be.
Greta Thunberg went from sitting by herself to leading a global movement of millions.
All right. You see how they reacted? How did Trump react to Greta Thunberg, right? So ridiculous. Greta must work on her anger management problem, then go to a good old-fashioned movie with a friend. Chill, Greta. Chill. And then when they came face to face, they didn't quite come face to face. Greta was horrified, right? There's the man. She makes eye contact. She sees Trump. You see how she scowls? And Trump just blows her off. Great moment in UN history. Next.
If you are an American, your media is the least trusted media in the world by you. Americans don't trust their media. Do not trust the mainstream media. Do not trust your government. Do not trust big business. Slay the beast.
I agree with just about all of that, Russell Brand, and I do believe for his candor, for his honesty, for his popularity, he is now, well, they're trying to cancel him. Take a look.
The comedian Russell Brand has been accused of rape, sexual assaults and emotional abuse over a 7-year period at the height of his fame.
4 women have come forward with allegations against Brand that include rape, sexual assault, and emotional abuse.
The findings come from a joint investigation by 3 UK news outlets, the Sunday Times, the Times, and Channel 4 Dispatches.
He's been speaking out against the vaccine, against mandates, against the media, as you saw. And a lot of us see what he's going through now as retribution for that. These allegations, horrible allegations, definitely, but they go back 15 years, some of them, almost impossible to defend himself at this point. Why didn't any of them go to the police? And why aren't they going public? Because in the big report, they're not.
He's grabbing at my underwear, pulling it to the side. I'm telling him to get off me, and he won't get off.
He grabbed me and got me on the bed. I was fully clothed, and he was naked at this point.
I was like, oh my God, he raped me.
I think when you're famous and globally famous like Russell Brand, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to start a campaign like this. I don't believe he's guilty. I believe that the allegations are false, and the media's interest in it is self-serving. I mean, how do you reckon all of the attention on Russell Brand and what his accusers are saying, and the lack of attention for Tara Reade? Who's Tara Reade? She accused Joe Biden of sexual assault. Did her story go viral globally? No. It was censored. It was ignored. There's been about 1,000 times more coverage of the allegations against Russell Brand than against a president of the United States. Tara Reid worked for Joe Biden in the early 1990s. She got to tell her story on a podcast to Megyn Kelly.
He had his hands underneath my clothes, and it happened all at once. I wanted to say stop, and I thought it. I don't know if I said it, but sometimes, you know, when I've had a couple bad dreams or a few bad dreams about it, I wake up yelling that. I wake up yelling stop. And then he didn't look at me again.
Well, unlike the accusers of Russell Brand, she went to the police. She told the police what she experienced. It's just an allegation, but it should be investigated, don't you think? I mean, isn't Joe Biden a bit more important than Russell Brand? Could we see Joe doing something like that? I'll be right back.